Welcome to the Decent People podcast, a production of Decential Media, where we're committed to telling the stories of the founders, builders, and visionaries who are creating a new decentralized economy and internet experience. You guys know it as Web3 or blockchain, and we're going to bring you the smartest and most interesting people in the space for intimate conversations that reveal their background, how they got into crypto in the first place, and what they're doing today to make a decentralized future a reality. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure to check out our site at decential.io. Now, to the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Decent People podcast by Decential Media. This week, I'm here with Danny Casale, the artist, self-proclaimed bad animator, creator of the Coolman's universe. Danny, welcome to the podcast.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day outside. Beautiful day inside.
Beautiful day to be inside. I always feel so guilty, ever since I moved to LA, being inside at all, because it's just always so beautiful. But there's work to be done. So
amen. And how long have you been in Los Angeles?
I've been here about 2.5 years now. Moved here from New York about 2 months before COVID hit. So that was excellent timing on my end. But I love it. If anything at all, the plan worked out. I wasn't even totally, confident on moving here to begin with for good. But because of what happened in 2020, that whole COVID thing, I sort of just played a whole game of improv the past 2.5 years and resulted in me moving all my stuff across the country and making the West Coast leap. And I love it out here. Met some really good people.
Awesome. Well, maybe we can jump back before the West Coast leap and kind of start back in the day and how you got into art, and if that was always the plan, and really just explore maybe how you got to where you are today by going back into where you were. So growing up, did you know you always wanted to pursue art? Was that something that came through later in life? What was sort of the journey that led you to your current trajectory?
Yeah, I for as long as I can remember, I was super creative, which sounds cocky to say, but I always think like I couldn't, I could not stand still. Like in class, I would always be fidgeting with a pen in my hands and doodling something, whether it's in my Spanish notes or my math notes or the radiator next to me in chemistry class or like the school lunch trays. Which there's probably some solid one-of-ones on the school lunch trays. They definitely don't replace those things, I don't think. But always, I was always drawing. And I would love to daydream, throughout elementary, middle school, whatnot, the idea of being an artist for a living and being able to survive and pay bills like that. But was never completely sure how that would even be the case or how I would even do that. Back then I thought, okay, maybe it's me like illustrating children's books, but even then it's like illustrating for other people's visions. So wasn't entirely stoked on that. I just wanted to, draw my own original ideas and be able to do that forever. Without being a hobo, without being, dirt poor. So
Sure.
I always had that on the mood board, so to speak, and just never was really sure on how to accomplish that. So, my other passion is filmmaking and editing and movie making and whatnot. And I did that for, a large chunk of time, all throughout my teens and early 20s. I would, pay the bills, keep the lights on, keep food in my stomach by shooting music videos around New York City for like rappers off of Craigslist, and some really fun memories there, and instilled that hustle and some really good work ethic values in me. But yes, still never would have thought, doodling and painting and animating and drawing would have came into my life the way it did. And all that really took was one viral video back in 2017, which I'm very grateful for. So we made it,
Yeah. And what was sort of the inspiration and the How did the viral video come to be?
It was sort of like dumb 3 in the morning idea. While I was brushing my teeth, I had this visual in my head of a snake with a pink background, and I was like, it'd be cool to like animate something silly and dumb before I went to bed. And then I was like, like I don't have a drawing tablet. I have to fish my microphone out of like the junk pile in my tiny little Brooklyn apartment bedroom that I'm sharing with 4 other dudes. But I'm like, let me do this before I go to bed. I don't want to lose the idea in the morning. So grateful that I did that. That video ended up being a video called "Snakes Have Legs," which, during a very politically charged summer, as 2017 was, it was about not believing everything you read on the internet. It sort of became like a pseudo political cartoon of how the internet is an amazing tool that can be used for amazing things, and you should stop being an idiot on it. And the whole premise is this guy reads a article on Facebook that snakes have legs, and then a literal snake slithers into frame, obviously no legs, telling him all this. The internet's great. Stop being an idiot. And it really resonated with a lot of people. And not only that, it just also went so global and was translated to every language in the book. And it was, being shown by politicians in Brazil and teachers here in the States and France, India, everywhere. Just really wild, it spread like wildfire. And because people related to it. And I think that was my first time seeing, hey, I literally, animated this drawing on like a postcard with a Sharpie and digitalizing that, onto my computer. The art's not great, but the storyline is what people really are resonating with. And most of the time, that's all that matters. And that was like a big light bulb moment for me, because I'm like, dang, that worked. I'm going to do more of that. I think I have some more ideas. And sure enough, 5 years later, hundreds of millions of views later, it's been a wild ride with these animated characters.
So really, 3 a.m. idea, you get it out, and then it manifests into kind of a whole new direction in a way.
Yeah, and I sort of rolled with the punches, which sometimes is the best you could do. And I pretty immediately rerouted to going all in on my animations. And that was June 2017. And pretty quickly the audience started growing on Instagram and on YouTube and Facebook. TikTok wasn't around then. But it was just very quickly, very rapidly forming this sort of new culture of folks that, really like enjoyed my animation style, even though it was very rudimentary and simple. Hence the self-proclaimed bad animator title, but really enjoyed the deep, more complex and profound stories and messages underneath that as well. So yeah, sort of accidentally, you could say, stumbled into my own, like little brand here. And it's been really cool. I mean, like I said, I'm so glad that I decided to stay up that extra hour to make that video, to make that first animation.
Yeah, yeah, and what a great example of following the instinct and honoring the impulse, and not turning off the lights when the inspiration strikes. So it's
Exactly. I mean, that's what I try to tell everybody is like, if you have that idea, even if it's dumb, just go for it, because you're never sure what's going to happen. You could never be positive as to just how much you think that video might hit. And all it takes is that one, piece to resonate and push your whole catalog of creations that much further. So that's how I
yeah,
was about it. I'm glad it happened that way.
yeah, super cool. And so to that end, how did you eventually start to make the shift from viral video to NFTs?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a few years in between where the audience size and the sort of validation of the brand and characters kept growing. And by the time I found out about NFTs in January 2021, which I think is when it sort of started hitting most of the public, it was getting most of the public's attention with like the headlines from people and stuff. I always thought, it'd be cool to explore what I could do here, because I had every friend in my contacts list who was tech savvy hitting me up being like, I'm looking at these cartoon NFTs, and it's like, it looks like your freaking Instagram feed. And I was like, yeah, no, 100%. I see that. I would think like, if I do this, then I think people would also hold comfort in the idea that I'm a good investment, because they could go on all my public platforms and see that I've been doing this for years and years and years. And I'm a very doxed creator, right? But I still didn't know enough, and I didn't want to rush into it. So I sort of waited and listened and learned for a few months. And it was until March 2021 when I uploaded my first few NFTs onto OpenSea. And they were MP4s, they were video loops, creations that I've made in the past that I thought were special. And I didn't show them at all. Like I didn't post them on my Instagram at all. I think I tweeted about it, but my Twitter following was nowhere near the size that it is even today. But it was really cool because those pieces sold for like 1-2 ETH each without anybody knowing that I posted about it. They were literally fans of my work or new fans of my work that found me through OpenSea and were so delighted to find an original piece by me, and were thrilled enough about it to own one. And I was very wowed by that, because it was I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I wasn't sure if they were going to sell at all, and if they were going to sell, would it be for like pennies on the dollar? But they sold for, one sold for 1 ETH, the other sold for 2. I then lost 2 of that 3 ETH by transferring it wrong, but
no.
it's all good because it was a really beautiful lesson learning experience at the end of the day. But somewhere out there in the abyss is my 2 Ethereum from March 2021. Maybe I'll see it someday. I don't know.
Yeah, if karma has its way, then
if karma has its way, it'll find itself back to me. But it was definitely cool to see that the hype was there very naturally. I think like even with that, I was like, cool, but maybe that's it. Like I wasn't positive as to what the next steps would be, if any, for me in the NFT space. So I sort of still just kind of waited around and continued to listen, continued to learn, still very happy with my 1 ETH that I profited. But it wasn't until the summertime when I saw, when I started learning about Bored Ape Yacht Club and Cool Cats specifically, is when I was like, like it makes sense, like cool, generative, randomized based on the certain rare traits. It's more like that's when it sounded cool to me. Not that it didn't sound cool before, but at that scale, I felt like I understood the greater purpose there, and you could get much more people involved, right? So, towards like end of August, I was like, full steam ahead, let's freaking go. And that's when it started. That's when Coolman's universe started building up.
Awesome. And for those who don't know, maybe talk a little bit about what the Coolman universe is, how it works, and again, I think we know sort of the inspirations behind it from the anecdote you just shared, but what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because my buddy David back from New York, I've known him for years and years, and he was sort of the one to put 2 and 2 together, where he's like, dude, you have these characters that are so loved by millions of people around the world. They're there for each other. They have that nostalgic feel to them. They do mean well. They advocate for mental health. You should make Spesh, which is my main main character from my world, my animated world. You should make 10,000 Speshies. And I was like, cool, like let's do it. I mean, I hope that the NFT world cares as much about Spesh as like all my, like, say, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok followers do. Obviously they did, because Spesh is this chubby, naked, white, cute, like, cat thing. Like, you're not really sure what he is. He has 2 dots for nipples, and he preaches positivity. That's what he stands for. He preaches, his slogan is "You're special." That's what he wants to do. That's why he's, out here. His goal is to remind as many people as he possibly can that they are special, they are loved, all those things that people should hear but don't hear often enough. And so the idea of having 10,000 of these species out there obviously sounded like a lot of fun. So the sort of lore that was built around that was Spesh is traveling throughout the universe, in hopes to find his best friend. And he does this by using this magical compass that points him in the right direction. And he sort of crash lands, along the way on 3 different planets. The first one being Donut World, the second one being Dino World, and the third one being Wall Street Wasteland. And each planet has its own set of traits and accessories and little babies, that he finds on that planet, right? And there's also different rarities based on which spesh from which planet you have. So Donut World is most common, Dino World is less common, Wall Street Wasteland is the most rare. So it's pretty cool, like the way we went about doing it. And now with this next collection coming up called Babies, it focuses on the little babies that are found in the original collection. So it thrills me as the artist and creator that the world and the lore and the universe expands, right? So it just continues the story, and it continues building up the universe in a very meaningful way. It's not just random; it all ties together. So I'm really thrilled with how much the lore kind of plays into the grand scheme of things, and I think that's what makes it fun for holders too.
Yeah, yeah, and how much is the lore influenced by the idea of, say, the actual universe, and the idea that inherently people are special, and that, by going about our days with a positive mindset, interacting with everyone we come in contact with, we're inherently making the world better if we're in a positive mindset, and we are, say, relating to special and treating everybody else like, hey, bringing out the special in them.
Yeah.
Is that kind of mirroring what uh, is actually in, you say, real life, I guess?
Oh yeah, I mean, so the whole idea of art, imitating reality and vice versa, that's always been how I figured out how to, what I would make my characters sort of be talking about, even before NFTs, right? Like it's always, hey, what am I thinking about? What am I going through? What would I want to hear right now for these characters to preach and talk about? Just so happens that as the characters like Spesh, sort of became more and more popular and also evolved, I find that Spesh sort of has his own consciousness in a way now, where I feel sometimes I look to Spesh myself, or when I'm writing for what Spesh would talk about in a new video, feel like he's almost writing for me. And I think it's like very cool to be able to say that one of my characters, one of my creations, have reached that apex of being around and being meaningful enough to sort of do that. And 100%. I mean, it's like that yin and yang. It's constantly being influenced as to what's going on in real life and actually going on in the universe. And I think that's what makes it special. No pun intended.
Right on, right on. And it's cool too to hear you kind of describe how essentially there was a specific intent behind the creation of Spetch. He gets released, or it gets released out into the world, and then in some crazy way, there's great feedback, and then it becomes an influence onto you to continue what you're doing.
100%. I mean, I think that's what art should be. I think it obviously starts from the artist's fingertips or their brain or whatever, and then it ideally goes out there in the world and takes on a life of its own. And I think that's exactly it's absolutely what happened with Coolman's universe. I mean, it's truly mind blowing where it's at. 6 months, less than a year later since mint. So it's been very interesting seeing art take on its own my art take on its own life at this scale and at this speed.
Mm, And on that tip, where does the future of Coolman universe like end up? What's the vision? Where are you trying to go with it? What's the what can we expect to see in the coming months and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a super huge announcement coming just before the end of this month. So can't talk too much on that yet, but short term it's NFT NYC coming up, right? So you have uh really what's going to be its own like sort of Disneyland, its own Legoland, its own universe like IRL that we put an insane amount of resources and budget to, rightfully so, because you want to feel like you stepped into Coolman's universe, right? And you want to get to know, you want to have that magical feeling as you would when you would go to any like sort of amusement park or IRL experience or whatever. I mean, that's going to be the first time that really happens. We had our first event in March, but that was a sort of private red carpet screening of a animated short film that I made. But this is going to be, open to the public with holders only, segments. We have an underground concert the night of the 23rd with Jaws and Chromeo headlining, which will be really great to just be partying with everybody. But the idea that everybody will be there, whether you know about Coolman's universe or not, whether you know about my art or not, you can just be a random family wandering off the street, visiting from, wherever. Like you see this cool experience, you step in, you get to know who Spesh is, you step into Spesh's world, and ideally after that, you're a new fan, right? I think that's where, for my entire creative career, I've always been focused on that. Like, how could I sort of make Spesh for everybody, make him a household name, make him and his message appeal to as many people as possible, bring as many smiles as Spesh possibly can. So that's been the goal. That it still is the goal. It's happening much quicker than I think I would have realized. But to make Spesh that household name through experiences like this is, I think, the future of Coolman's universe, because whether it's through entertainment, art, IRL experiences, music, whatever, I think making sure that whether you have 100 species in your wallet, or you have one, or you have zero, maybe you've never even heard the word NFT, maybe you don't even care, right? You still care about Spesh, and maybe you'll care about NFTs tomorrow and you'll want to be that deeper in it. But if not, it's okay. Come enjoy, what Spesh is all about. Come enjoy the experiences, the memories, the love, the reminders, and the stories that come with that. So that's what I'm bullish on right there.
Are you finding then that NFTs are then bringing more people? It's kind of symbiotic. They're bringing more people to your art who are then being influenced by the art, and then they're also taking ownership of it in a way that makes them more intimately linked to an experience that perhaps they're not having if NFTs weren't part of everything.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you literally get to own a part of the universe, right? So you get to be that much more ingrained as to where this goes and like the journey that Spesh takes you on. And I think there's holders in my Discord every day. They're super active that have literally 50, 100 species, because they see what I see. They see the vision, right? They see where this goes, and in not that long of a time, even though we are thinking long term, they own so many because they want to be that deep rooted into the universe. And I think that's a really beautiful thing, because what happens when Spesh is that you know, a household name more so than, you know, he is today, on that global scale of hundreds of millions of people with all these different avenues of entertainment. I think that's a really, really interesting move if you happen to have owned 100 species as of 2022. I think that gets really cool when you look, you know, 5, 10 years down the line. So it's very, it's, I mean, and then just to go back to like an emotional standpoint, like as the artist, it's like it's always really cool and beautiful and exciting to see people that stoked on what I'm building and what I've dedicated my whole life to building, because it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's definitely what I feel like I've been put on this earth to do. So it all works out.
Love it. Yeah. And in such a cool way, all it sounds like all of your experiences from filmmaking, music videos, and everything like that, it's all culminated into exactly what you're doing now. So the poeticness of that is the journey. You don't know where the journey is going to take you, but if you focus in on your interests and your talent and everything like that, it finds its way.
100. I mean, it's pop culture, man. It's why does anybody find intrinsic value or interest in a Mickey Mouse or a SpongeBob or a Hello Kitty? You know, it's because you care about these characters so much so that it doesn't even matter that they're fictional, doesn't even matter that they're animated, doesn't even matter that they're for kids. You know, the cartoon characters are in that rare position where if you watch a show when you're, say you watch SpongeBob, like I did when you're, you know, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, like you hold that character so near and dear to your heart because of what that character stands for, how much that character entertained and took care of you, you know, when you're growing up. It's something that you don't really outgrow. Like you may outgrow songs and bands and movies and celebrities, but you don't outgrow cartoon characters. That's why people have their stuffed animals from when they were 6, you know, decades later. I think that's the beautiful magic of cartoon characters, and that's what I see. You know, that's the track that I see Spesh on.
Awesome. Awesome. And on that tip, if you can talk about it, is there any plans to, you know, you mentioned cartoons and you mentioned you know, movies in which those cartoons can exist. Are there plans to animate, given your background and everything like that, Spesh or other characters from the Coolman's universe into more deeper animated projects?
Yeah, I mean, I can't get too deep into that part in like particular. The part that I think is really neat is exactly like you said, like the short form animations that happen in the day to day, and you know, the whether it's via Instagram stories or the TikTok feed and all that. I think a very natural progression is, yeah, like what happens next? Like how does, like you can really only achieve making Spesh a household name by doing something like that. So but the past few years have been like really interesting, powerful stepping stones to doing something like that. And you know, I think there's something to be said about that simple 15 to 20-second little uh, pleasure, you know, that little glimpse of brightness on like your dark negative social media timeline where it's just like Spesh or my other character's Blue Dude or whoever reminding you that, you know, all the things that you should be reminded of. And taking that on a larger scale has always been the goal. So we'll see.
Was the mission of creating Spesh to help inspire people just by witnessing Spesh to
Mhm.
understand their own, you know, specialness inside, and then to be able to radiate that outward and help other people realize the same thing?
Yeah, that's definitely a huge goal. Like I think making like do as Spesh does in a short way, I think is like a good way to put it, because you know, here you have this beacon of positivity and optimism, and you know, someone who really just wants nothing but the good for the world and sees nothing but the good in people. And he has his moments where, you know, maybe he fails or he messes up or he has that dumb moment or two, but his intents are so good, and I think I relate to that personally a ton. I think most of us can. You know, when I first drew the first rendition of Spesh, I'm trying to see if he's somewhere on my desk over here. I don't think he is, but he you know, looked very different, and it was just like more of like a sketch doodle. This is like a few months after my first viral animation in 2017, so like November 2017. You know, I draw this it's like kind of like a little more creepy looking, still like the two nipples stay consistent, but it's a video of this character just exclaiming how if you've been tagged in this video, it means you're special, like really special. If a murderer came in and says, I'm gonna shoot the person that's tagged in this video, I would tell them no. I would prevent that murderer from doing that. That's how special and loved you are. And it's just like a creepy but cute thing that went on, and people took a huge liking to that character, obviously because of that messaging. And you know, I think it has something to do visually. Like you're like, what is this? Like he's naked, but like he's telling me I'm special. Like so the messaging is also there. And you know, people of all ages love Spesh, right? They just love how he looks. They love what he stands for. So it's been a very natural evolution of Spesh and his message to the to the point where he is my main character, and he is the sole hero of Coolman's universe and all that. But I think over time, what kept being reinforced is the idea of Spesh is really awesome and people like what he has to say. And if someone's day could be turned around, someone was having a bad day and Spesh could fix that, at least for a moment, then that's powerful. And you know, Spesh was like my first bits of like merch and apparel, like these little pins, and he was on the hoodies, and you know, like people love Spesh, and I think it's tough to come up. It's tough to love anything, you know. It's tough to come up, like if I told you to whip up a cartoon character right now that people will love, if you even told me to do that, it's kind of an impossible task. It takes time, and you either love something for what it is or you don't. And Spesh just so happens to be that thing. So you know, and you know, that's just what happened in 5 years. You know, what happens in the next 5 years, right? So yeah, I think to answer your question, people see Spesh, they see how awesome he is, and ideally they want to be more like Spesh, which I think is a beautiful thing.
Amen. And as part of that, though, how much of Spesh is you? You know, how much are you bringing to that character?
I think like I said, you know, I think Spesh in a way sort of transcended beyond me at this point. I mean, Spesh is definitely who I would like to be more of, more positive, right? But I can't be. I'm only human, and sometimes it takes a non-human character like Spesh to remind us of the things that maybe our human selves are a little, you know, tougher on ourselves about. So there's definitely, you know, that little bit of me with Spesh, but I think Spesh is kind of turned into his own consciousness, his own being, which
Mm.
is very cool to be able to say.
Yeah, his own he himself has become a beacon of hope in a way, or a beacon of goodness, or you know, an aspiration to be a higher self. Uh,
Exactly. And I think that's all any artist or creator could hope for is their creation, you know, taking on that path. So definitely blessed with that one.
awesome. Well, Danny Casale, thank you so much for being part of the next episode of the Decent People podcast for Essential Media. I'm your host, Steve Ladden, and thanks so much.
Yeah, dude. Appreciate you having me on, man. Have a
For
good one,
sure.
everybody. You're special.